Hey, MCE crew, let's talk about the green energy revolution and give you another reason to be cautious when investing in it. Because I'm going to tell you right now, things are changing as we speak. The policymakers and politicians are developing realizations that wind and solar is definitely not what's going to be able to power us into the 21st century. Sure, those applications have merit in some uses, but they're not going to be substitutes for coal. They're just not going to be. But there are cleaner alternatives. The European Union is taking a look right now at including nuclear and natural gas in its framework of energy sources. Now, of course, there's some pushback, but Europe is realizing that, hey, unless we are able to clean our act up in such a way that allows us to still provide energy for our growing energy needs, then they're going to cease to function as an economy, quite frankly. We're, as a species, we're using more power than ever before because, everyone has a high quality video camera. Everyone has several computers, several cars, and parts of the world are becoming more prosperous. And when people become more prosperous, when societies become more prosperous, they use more energy. And you see that happening in China and India. And these are the most populous countries in the world. So we've got what's going on over in Europe right now. They are actually talking about including nuclear and natural gas in the ESG framework. And what that would actually do from an investment standpoint is it would open up those companies that deal in those two sources of energy. It would open them up to all types of ESG collective investments like ETFs and mutual funds. Okay, you're seeing more environmentally sustainable, environmentally responsible investment vehicles. And if that's important to you, then you need to know that a nuclear and I keep forgetting the other one, nuclear and natural gas will be sources that are relied upon. Now, the beef here is that natural gas is a fossil fuel, okay? And that's kind of what's got some people up in arms about, actually using that. There are threats right now of lawsuits in the European Union for countries who are pushing those two energy sources into becoming part of the ESG framework. So let me just give you a little bit here. A proposal to classify nuclear energy and natural gas in the European Commission's sustainable finance taxonomy has prompted a backlash from Germany and Austria, with the latter threatening to take legal action should it be included. Germany and other EU member states have argued natural gas investment was crucial to help them exit from coal, while others have argued that its inclusion would undermine the EU's credibility as a climate leader. So among some policymakers, it's apparently more important to be seen as a leader on the subject matter than it is to actually help your citizens stay alive in winter. But this is what we're dealing with the leftist mindset all over the world. Now, what about the United States? Because the United States is clearly an investment leader. A lot of money flows into the country. And you might be wondering, well, we're still trying to worry about things like including men and women's sports. So
let's go, Brandon. I agree.
We haven't really started talking about this yet. Now, China, on the other hand, they are ahead of the curve in thinking about this. I did a video a while back about China and its desire to be more self-sufficient in all things: food, energy, monetary policy, the whole 9 yards. And so this is consistent with that whole drive. China's climate goals hinge on $440 billion in the form of a nuclear bailout. China is planning at least 150 new nuclear reactors in the next 15 years, more than the rest of the world has built in the past 35. So China's saying, you know what? To hell with the debate. We've got over a billion people here in China. And we have got to make sure that we have energy for their needs and for our growing economy. All right. There's no way you're going to grow an economy if you're not able to meet the demands of, you know, infrastructure, economic and otherwise. So they've gone ahead and they've made some bold plans. Now, that would obviously translate into, uh, you know, in uranium. We've talked about uranium before on the channel, being something you may want to look at from an investment standpoint. There are some ways to do that, and we'll do a more expansive video on some, ways to invest in uranium, because you certainly can't hold it physically unless you want, a visit from the Nuclear Regulatory Commission, and they probably have badges and ammunition, and you don't want to deal with all that. So we'll talk about some ways that you can invest safely, safely in terms of radiation poisoning in that type of material. And also, when you talk about natural gas, there's a lot of investment potential out there right now, a lot of ways to do that. And we'll get into some of that as well. But just wanted to let you know that from the standpoint of green energy, don't just buy into all the rainbows and, you plug a unicorn's horn into a electrical socket and you have endless energy. The sun's radiation that hits this planet is very diffuse, okay? And we do not have the technology as of yet to use it in a more efficient way, in a way that's so efficient that we can just throw a solar panel out in a field and get the total amount of energy from that is actually being, supplied. So technology, it advances, and maybe one day we'll get there. But in the meantime, we do have ways of powering the society that aren't as sexy as a solar panel on your roof. Now, where I live, there are a few people who went for the solar panel thing early. And from what I understand, over time, they become less efficient. So I'm not sure how they handle that. Once you have that on your roof, are they replaced by the company, or are you responsible for that? Once the amount of energy starts to, you're not able to get as much out of it as maybe you were initially. I don't know how that works. I don't have solar panels on my roof. Not saying it's a bad idea, but I'm just saying that, like all technologies, they advance. So what you have on your roof today might be the equivalent of an 8-track tape. And if you don't know what that is, then you get my point. When, society has moved on to solar in the guise of streaming, as an analogy. So just be prepared for this industry, like most, to look a whole lot different as we move further into the 21st century. And the powers that be in Europe and in China are saying, you know what? Let's take a look at some things that can really get this job done in a robust way. And it ain't solar and wind. All right? And it's just a fact. Doesn't mean that I'm anti-environmentalist. I'm actually one of the biggest environmentalists you want to meet. I'm on well water out here, okay? So that's what the investment kind of, diversify your the way you look at it from an investment standpoint. Don't just trust in the fairy dust and the sexy, okay? Because everything that's sexy is not going to work out. But there are some tried and true methods of powering society that have been out there for many decades, and they've proven themselves. And looks like in the case of natural gas and nuclear, they have a chance to continue to do that. All right, guys, talk to you soon.